Mary, we set? No.
One moment. Yes, we're set.
Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody to the May 5th, 2021 meeting of the Land Use and Building Management Committee of the Common Council. I'd like to call it to order. I'll start with a roll call. Actually, I'll just read the names unless anybody objects. Mr. Huvelman, Ms. Smith, Mr. Sachinelli, and myself, Tom Livingston. So we do have a quorum. First item on the agenda is public participation. Do we have anybody who is attending and wishes to speak?
We do not.
And I don't have anything from the public.
Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, we will close public participation and move to the approval of the minutes of the meeting of April 7th. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Mr. Huvelman. I have some corrections, which I'll read. I'm going to read from two different places. So the first one is on page 2 under the first paragraph under old business. It's this first line, the second sentence starts, this item has discussed at previous meetings. This item was discussed at previous meetings. The second item is on page 3. This is the third paragraph under the city property item, which starts with Chairman Livingston. And it says, asked if they should be changed to asked if the city could cancel the lease agreement. So change they to the city. By the way, I can send these changes in. And then the next line says, Mr. Tony said that the contract was one-sided. Add the words in favor of the city. And then go on from there. And then page 4, under the item presentation on schematic design phase, we should delete the expecting to take 25 to 30 minutes max. That was just out of the agenda. The last paragraph on that page, the fourth line, says request for addition in classroom. It should be for additional classroom bathrooms. All right, page 5, paragraph 3, 5th sentence. That is, it says, Mr. Gabriel, wait, where's that at? David, this is one of yours. Got that right?
Yeah, that's the sentence. It's later in the sentence. It's after
yeah.
the comma, the latest technology.
Yeah, all right. So the next sentence, next line, the latest technology will have greater reliance on electricity and electric generation. So insert the word on before electricity. Also on that page, on paragraph 4, which is on the committee member Huvelman. And okay, so that would be first sentence. David, I can get this right here.
Yeah, it's in the second line. Work that's being done right now, insert with regard to the district's long-term facility study.
Okay. Page 6, you want to make this one too?
Yeah, this one is just above, it's the paragraph that's just above the motion passed. It starts with committee member Huvelman clarified. It's they were just approving the money, strike to just look at and insert for. So it would read, they were just approving the money for the architectural, and then fee should be plural, fees for the proposed projects.
Okay, then moving on to page 7 under miscellaneous discussion items, the second line of the first paragraph on the second sentence there, he said that he had spoken with Dr. Estrella about, insert the word about, having a joint meeting. And then finally, on the last paragraph on page 8, where, and it's the 4th line, it says when he had spoken to a principal, it's actually principal, P-A-L, not P-L-E. And those are my changes. Anyone else have any other changes? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the minutes as modified, signify by raising high. Nick, you there? Good. Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, thank you. So now in terms of moving on to actual business, to new business, the first item is under building management. Review sole source approval request for building energy management system vendors. Refer the following to the Common Council for action. A, approve New England Energy Controls Incorporated and authorize service representative for KMC Building Energy Management Systems as a sole source vendor to maintain and service KMC energy management equipment in city buildings. This approval shall expire July 1st, 2024. And B, approve Automated Building Systems Incorporated and authorize service representative for Allerton Control Systems as a sole source vendor to maintain and service Allerton energy management equipment in city buildings. This approval shall expire July 1, 2024. Have a motion? Thank you, Barbara. Alan?
Tonight, we have my partner in crime, Neil's here tonight. So everything that's good that I did, everything bad I did. So, so he's going to present these. He has 3 items tonight. We have 3 items tonight, but he's going to present all 3 of them. Neil, it's all yours.
Yes, so the first item is the one that Tom just read off on. I believe this has been in effect for several years. They've been managing and maintaining our systems for multiple buildings in Norwalk. We're looking to get approval to keep them maintaining the systems that they rep each product, right? This is for service work. It goes from anywhere from $1,000 to up to $6,000 to maintain. Service calls typically $1,000 or a little less. And if we have to replace components, we can spend up to $6,000 across the year for such repairs.
So Alan, I don't see an account number here or a maximum. Is this the way it's typically done here in this type of situation?
Yeah, what happens is that building management system, once we have the system in place, really it's an authorized service person had to maintain it. So these 2 companies are the service, so it could be many different accounts, could be any other accounts, operating accounts from each building has its own operating account. So there could be 15 different accounts. So it really just gives us the ability with purchasing that we don't go out to get 3 quotes because we cannot get 3 quotes. That's why we're so source, because it's a manufactured product and it's maintained by the local rep, maintenance rep. So it's not account specific. It's just that we have the right to go to them. And then when we process these things, it does not come to account because the amount doesn't exceed the limit that come to a common council. So what we do is we issue they come to service equipment and we charge it to the operating budget account.
So this is just a service agreement, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor, just raise your hands. Nick?
Great job, Neil.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. All right, item 2.
Item 2 is for.
Well, actually, hold on.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Read the item and then we'll
Yes,
talk.
sir.
Review bids for replacement of heating pipes at DPW garage and refer the following to the Common Council for action. A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with L&R Plumbing and Heating LLC for heating pipes replacement project at DPW truck garage for a total not to exceed $163,400. Accounts noted. B, authorize the Office of Building Management to issue change orders on contract for a total not to exceed $16,300. Do you have a motion? Thank you, Nick. Okay, now Neil.
Okay. So this is for the DPW to replace their heating piping over there. Originally, it was designed with Schedule 10 piping. Schedule 10 piping we found to be inferior. We had it non-destructive tested, and it lost 34% of its thickness. It's in need of change. We put it out to bid, and L&R Plumbing and Heating came in as the low bidder.
Is this something, just curious, have there been issues with this? Is it leaking? Is it?
I guess prior to me coming in, there's been some issues, but the real concern is that it's going to end up breaking on us during a season and potentially knock the heating down for DPW admin and their fleet garage. So before that happens, we're looking to replace it. It's paper thin at this point.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, seeing
Does
none.
this,
all-
I'm sorry,
Sorry, go ahead.
this represents replacing all the piping for the heating?
It's a good portion. Yes.
Good portion? Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Everything that's the Schedule 10 copper piping will be replaced.
And
As
when
you
will it
get
be,
as you get closer to the boiler, it's different schedule piping.
when will you do this?
We're looking to do it in the shoulder season,
Okay,
so over the next fall.
okay. Any
late.
other questions? All right, all in favor? Okay, unanimous, okay. Moving on, this is the amended agenda, and I'm gonna get the name right, but review request to approve Thyssen Group Elevator as the sole source vendor for passenger elevator upgrade at Norwalk City Hall, and refer the following to the Common Council for approval. Authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a contract with Thyssen Group Elevator Corporation for the Norwalk City Hall Elevator Modification Upgrade Project for a total not to exceed $200,000. Account noted. B, authorize the Office of Building Management to execute change orders on the contract for a total not to exceed $20,000. You have a motion? Thank you, Nick. I'll go Nick this time. Okay,
So we're looking to modify the controls as well as revamp the elevator, passenger elevators at City Hall. They're original to the building. The interiors of the cabs are really tired. They're like a Formica panel in there, and they're chipped. The lighting in there is substandard. The controls do not meet current code, ADA codes. We're also looking to update the controls outside the elevator to meet ADA, and to upgrade all the other door equipment, call fixtures, lanterns, etc., to bring it up to current day code, and also make it bring it up to a current date as far as the lighting goes. We'd use energy efficient lighting and rehab the cabs.
I see they're using some of the same equipment, motors, and I assume cables on that. Is that, I mean, it's safe, I say, take it,
So
right?
this is a hydraulic elevators. They only go up obviously 3 stories. So we did some back work last year to some of the hydraulic systems, and now we're looking to do all the electric controls. And the reason we're seeking to go with, we're looking to use our current provider, ThyssenKrupp Elevator. We get to save on design services. They're willing to, as part of their agreement, they would do the design services part of their scope. If there's ever an issue with the cars, and if we were to use somebody else, I'd have two people that I'd have to try to figure out who maybe made a mistake or who would be at fault for something. So we're trying to keep it under the current provider.
And when would this happen?
So it would probably take anywhere, the commodities out there right now and parts and materials, a slow go. We're probably looking around two months out. Each car takes approximately, I think, 8 weeks to rehab. So sometimes we may be running with just one elevator.
But you always have one going, right?
I'll always have one elevator going. Yep.
Too bad we couldn't do it while the city hall was closed.
I know.
Go ahead, Nick.
Just a question on the ADA side. What aren't we currently meeting from the ADA component?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What the ADA upgrades that you mentioned? What aren't we currently meeting? From the ADA?
The heights are not correct. A lot of the call signals have to meet certain standards, lighting levels of the lanterns, gongs on the elevators, for hearing impaired and stuff like not hearing, but people that can't see well. The gongs give you an indication whether the car's going up, going down.
Okay. Thank you. And the door widths are wide enough for wheelchair access. I remember when we looked at Norwalk High, we couldn't update their personnel elevator. We had to use their freight carrier.
No, our elevators are wide enough. They're probably well over 48 inches. So that's not an issue. The height of the controls outside too would be adjusted. There's a couple different generations of buttons at City Hall, especially in the lobby. Sometimes you'll see people hitting buttons that no longer exist.
All right, okay.
And they're patched over. So we would look to clean that up, have one set of buttons, update the phones would be updated, right, to assist anybody with ADA, the ADA requirements.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, none. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Jim, school projects update.
Have a good night.
Oh, you too.
Done.
Oh, can I share my screen?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Ponus Ridge, we are continuing with closeout. We actually had a meeting this morning to discuss status of closeout items with the designer, construction manager, Bill Hodell, and myself. We continue to have these meetings up until we have all the closeout documentation finalized and ready to go to the state with the final payment. And we're still on track to do that sometime this summer. Any questions on Ponus? Jefferson, Mike, do you want to take this?
Sorry, the participant panel is blocking the mute button. Over at Jefferson, the project has obviously broken ground and the portables have been removed. The construction management company, Newfield Construction, has finished the excavation for the new gymnasium addition, which you can kind of see in the bottom right corner of the aerial photo that we have provided there. This photo is probably taken about 2.5 weeks ago. So in the time from then to now, foundation walls are being formed and concrete is being placed. And underground utilities are also going in that area. As you may know, some hazardous material was found in the excavation, which we believe to be from the old Jefferson school that burned down around 1960. That we're working through the final details of having that material legally disposed of at this time. And
Actually, let me interrupt for a second. It's actually this pile in the middle. That's the pile. So it's quite a bit.
And also joining us tonight further in the agenda is the approval of the final plan specifications and cost estimate for the furniture and technology for the project.
Hey, Mike, are any kids still in the school?
Yes, there are still some children in the school. It's about, I believe, 50% of the Silver Mine Elementary School is being housed at the school currently.
And have there been any issues with interfering with their school days, or how are you working that out?
All of our work is contained to the back of the property, and the contractors haven't entered the building. And if they do need to enter the building, they go in on off hours or during early dismissal or days when school isn't in session.
But no.
No, we haven't heard of any issues.
Great. Okay. Thanks.
And then right here, we just have a couple photos. Those are from the Norwalk hour when the portables were being demolished. And
Alan's driving the tractor, right?
yes.
Okay. Any other questions on Jefferson? Hearing none, we'll move on to Cranberry. Cranberry, we continue with the design process. We're in the design development phase right now, which will take us, I believe, throughout the summer. So not too much to discuss there. Some good news actually is that we will be able to reuse the existing septic system, which will be quite a savings to the project. So, good news on that front, and the design continues.
Hey, Jim, on that. So were we going to replace that field? Because I know there's across the street. Is that the same location?
We wanted to reuse it, but we were preparing for the fact that we may have to replace it. We had Department of Health as well as the Norwalk Sanitarian out there. We had a contractor expose the leach field, and they were able to do visual inspection and found that the leach field was in very good shape and that we can reuse it or continue to use it.
Any idea of the savings?
I want to say it was around $400,000 because we did carry that much in anticipation of contaminated soil, because if we were not able to reuse it, we would have had to remove the material that was there, and it has to be removed as hazardous material.
We still have to replace the piping from the building.
That's right.
To the field, because they are the old piping that that needs to be replaced. So but at the same time, we actually it's not really reusing it; it's continued use of it. The way I look at it is that as long as we can get 15, 20 years out of it, there's no reason to replace it, because this is off-site improvement considered by the state, so it wouldn't get reimbursable reimbursement anyway.
Correct. Narragansett Elementary, we went out to bid. We received bids. We had some issues with fulfilling bids on all the trade packages that we went out for. So yesterday we had to reissue trade packages. There were 6 of them for rebidding. So that way we can drum up some more interest in the project. We feel confident that we will get responses. Our CM AV Tucci has reached out to many more contractors, and we've also helped with getting names of contractors that have bid on projects such as Jefferson and Ponus in the past. So we are confident that we'll get enough interest and get competitive bids and be able to present at the June land use meeting the GMP for the Narragansett kitchen.
Do you think this will slow down the process at all?
It will slow it down a little bit, but we still think we'll be able to open up the media center by the start of school. We'll concentrate on that. It may slow down the kitchen addition.
Okay, thank you.
About this, something interesting came to my mind. It's interesting how a few months ago, 3 months ago, we bid out Jefferson School, and we got very competitive bidding.
Right.
And partially because during COVID, everything got shut down, generally speaking, and people are holding back and not doing projects. But last 3 months, the construction industry really picks up quite a bit. So I think it contributed part of our problem getting bids now. So it's amazing how 3 months can change things. That's just perspective. I know, Jim, I don't know what you guys see up there.
Well, I mean, the last one that we bid was Jefferson. We don't have anything ready to go out to bid on other projects yet. But so, we are concerned because we have heard from other contractors that the market is getting tight. So, it's getting a little tougher to get those good numbers, like we did at Jefferson. Any other questions on Narragansett? Okay. And Norwalk High School, we hired the architect Castle Booz. We have a kickoff meeting. Alan and I set up with them tomorrow to discuss the programming and process. We hope to start the programming phase next week or the week after at the latest. So the design will start moving forward. We are in the process of selecting the construction management company. We shortlisted out of 4 respondents, we shortlisted to 3 last week. We're interviewing the 3 respondents tomorrow afternoon. And then after that, we'll convene and decide on who we're going to send the RFP to. And the RFP will be due a week and a half after we issue it on Friday.
I just want to note that, really it's not a kickoff meeting tomorrow. It's just me and Jim working with the architects, start laying out what's coming ahead. So
yeah, as I said that, it didn't, yeah, I meant to take that back. It's really just, yeah, you and I meeting with them to.
What happened is that we've been trying to set up the building advisory committee, which is made up of council members, 2 board members, the 2 principals, and the board of ed and the superintendent still need to appoint teachers and parents. I think there's 3 teachers and 4 parents that need to be put on this committee, building advisory committee. So at that point, we will do, excuse me, so we'll do the kickoff meeting, so a little more organized, but we're just doing background work. We're meeting tomorrow to do some background work with the architect first, and then start planning ahead. But at the same time, there would be a little more, not formal, but a little more organized kind of meeting with interested parties.
Correct. Any other questions on Norwalk High School? Okay, hearing none, I'll move on to the New Columbus School. I'll put New Columbus School and Norwalk Global Academy together. So this evening, we're going to be presenting for your approval architectural services to do conceptual design as well as professional cost estimate for a school on a site in South Norwalk. We're looking to put 2 programs together, the existing Bank Street model at the existing Columbus School, as well as what we call a neighborhood school. So we're moving forward with a concept design to make sure and get a professional cost estimate so we have a better idea of what our that we're within our budget, our current previously approved budget, as well as a site that would be able to accommodate the combination of the schools. And one of the things that we're looking at doing by combining these 2 schools is utilizing the common spaces such as the cafeteria and gymnasium, so that way it'll be more economical to build the 2 schools rather than have 2 separate schools at separate sites with 2 cafeterias, 2 gymnasiums, so on and so forth.
All right, Jim, but you have to say that word for us.
What's that?
That word you have to say, Gymnatorium.
Okay.
Well, that's going to have to stop right away.
Yeah. Yes.
And also the other thing I want to add is that the budget that we have for 2 schools does not have any money in there for land acquisition. So the benefit of combining 2 schools and sharing a couple of the main is that we can capture some of the savings to potentially acquire the property. And at this point, we've been looking at sites, but at the same time is that it's before we can actually, we haven't approached any property owners, but it's still confidential in the sense that we don't want to approach anybody until we know that it's potential. We can build it. We have enough money as well as the site is big enough for what we want to do. So what we're requesting tonight is not site specific. I mean, we have an idea what the site is, but at the same time is that we are not identifying a site because we are not in a position to start discussion with the property owner. So it's still confidential at this point.
Okay. Any other questions on New Columbus and the New South Norwalk School?
Yeah, Jim, I have a couple questions. I mean, I can ask now, or I can wait till we get to the item on the agenda. But I might as well go ahead and ask now.
Sure.
So, one of the things that I think is a concern here, I'm hearing from some of the Columbus parents about combining 2 schools with completely different philosophies. You got the Bank Street model that is tried and true, and how does that work? How do you just one step further is just making sure that, the Columbus family is involved in, and has a say in this idea.
Yeah, so that's a good point, Barbara. What we envision are two essentially, and don't quote me on this because we're going to leave it to the professionals just to do a concept. But the reason that we're looking at two schools, it won't be one building. It would be essentially, let's just look at it as two wings connected by, let's say, a cafeteria and gymnasium. So they will operate independently. So you'll still have the Bank Street model operating independently of the neighborhood school. Okay.
It seems a little funky to me, but
It's going to be very similar.
I know it's just concept right at this point. So
Right.
yeah.
And it's kind of similar to Norwalk High School. The way we're looking at it now, it's going to be a P-TECH.
That's true. Actually, it's a very good point, Alan, that, we do have two separate programs within one building for Norwalk High School, the P-TECH and the Comprehensive High School, with shared spaces, cafeteria, auditorium, gymnasium. So that's the same concept that we're looking at here.
And the discussion we're having, ongoing, not ongoing, but when the concept was developed, it was developed. I mean, right now, P-TECH and Norwalk High School in the same building, but in the proposed design, it would be differentiated between the two schools in terms of physically, and then the connection part is really the shared spaces. So in a way, it's similar. I mean, again, right now it's set up that way, but it's blend together. But then in the future project, in the future, Norwalk High School and this combined two school campus, it's going to be visually and psychologically two separate buildings, but they are connected.
Got it. Okay.
Any other questions? All right, move on.
Tom?
Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Well, there's another school. Okay, going on to item 2, which is review and approve latest plan for Jefferson School furniture and IT equipment replacement project. Just noting council approval is not required. The item is authorize the chairman of the City of Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee to certify the City of Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee's approval of the final plans, project manual, and cost estimate for the Jefferson Elementary School FF&E State Project number 103-0251 RNV. Do you have a motion? Thank you, David. Alan?
Yeah, before Mike or Jim get into a little more specific, generally speaking, Jefferson School is a renovated new project. So design life is, I believe, 20 to 25 years, a minimum kind of thing. So that's how state look at it. And that's why furniture and more than just furniture, it's furniture and equipment. It's reimbursable with the state at 30 or at 23%. Right? Is that what it is, Jim? Because we attend. No, it's renovation new, so it's actually 33%.
32.5.
Okay, thank you. So it's a little different from Ponus because Ponus wasn't a renovated new project. But this we went through the building and we look at it. It's dated to 1970s, whatever. It's mixed bag of furniture in there. So this is a long-term. This is a renovation new. So it is designed to be 20+ year of life, and so that's part of our reasoning for supporting this request to do furniture.
Yeah, I went through the building with Alan too, and it's pretty dated and mismatched furniture. And I'm not normally one to just give away money like this, but it makes sense. Any questions? Mike, we can say something?
We have a presentation tonight that basically shows the floor plans and the pieces of furniture that have been selected for the classrooms and shared spaces in the building. We would be going for state approval sometime this fall and plan on bidding the furniture sometime in January of next year for delivery next summer. So with that, Mike Lasasso.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. Let me add something. The reason why we're doing it now, get bring to the land use committee instead of the fall, is because with the with Silvermine, is it Silvermine currently in the building, and they'll be leaving in the middle of June. The existing furniture, which is because of COVID, they only partial furniture in the building. The reason why we bring it to land use now is so that we want. I'm requesting land use to make a decision here that we are going to buy new furniture. If we do so, then what we're going to do in terms of construction team wise, we're going to work with Board of Ed to identify all the furniture and mainly that they're going to go through it to see anything they want to keep, anything that's not to be kept on, with the district, then we will throw it away instead of paying money to move them, store it for 5 years and then throw it away. So it is a part of a comprehensive strategy to kind of organize our methodology in terms of managing the furniture side, so we don't move it twice and store it and everything else. So if the committee approves it, then our plan is actually develop this plan to get rid of all the things that we don't need. And so,
and I know Bill sent out another reminder email this morning to Norwalk Public Schools administration with reminding them that the time is coming near that we're going to have to get rid of this stuff. They're going to have to do what they need to do with it. So Bill has been on top of this with Norwalk Public Schools. So it's been very helpful.
Michael Sosa. I
can
never get a name right.
It's Losasso, but close enough.
Losasso. It's part of my name in there. That's why.
That's right. Lo, the most important part, right? Good evening, everyone. I'm joined tonight by Patty McKeon. She's the director of our interior design department. And what we'd like to do, as Mike had mentioned, we'll take you through the room by room plans. These are really illustrations of the different types of rooms in the building to give you a sense of the classroom spaces. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to be the slide advancer for Patty.
Okay, thank you. So we group these, as Mike said, room by room. And the first grouping is of the classrooms. And the classrooms are all designed basically with the same elements. And for example, the minor difference in this first grade classroom, which I'll just point out the differences as we go forward, is the lower grades have a big book easel. But all the classrooms in general have built-in millwork, which is shown in this elevation here. The typical run of lockable storage for the teachers. The upper right corner is basically the same in each classroom for the teacher furniture, a task chair, some mobile storage that also doubles as a writing surface on the other side.
Hey, Patty, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
We heard from the facilities experts that the Board of Education brought in that they have certain thoughts about furniture and all. Are you coordinating? I assume you are with the Board of Education on all this?
Yes, we did. We presented this to them already. And to come up with the concepts of the furniture, we had met with the staff at Jefferson, and we met with all the teachers, and we showed them options, and we talked about how they use each space. So it wasn't picked without input from the end users. And then again, it had been presented.
Good. I assume so, but I had to ask.
Yeah.
Tom, I'm sorry, if I may add, this was reviewed, as Patty said, at the facility committee meeting last week with board members, and it was approved then, and then it went on to the Board of Ed board meeting last night and approved by the entire board.
Okay.
So yes, they have eyes on this.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, and just to quickly walk you through the rest of the furniture, in the bottom right corner is the grouping for the student furniture. Each student gets their own desk with a book box, a chair, a height appropriate, size for each class, an ADA desk, and then just a visual of how these can be collaborative groupings or pulled apart for individual use. Each classroom gets bookcases and some cubby storage units, all mobile, so they could be set up any way the teacher prefers, a rug, and a mobile whiteboard. The next slide. Next page, Mike, please.
Sorry, Patty, I'm having trouble advancing. There we go.
Okay.
Come on, Mike, you only have one thing to do. Let's go.
I know, I can't even do it.
I wonder why we had no trouble before.
Well, we're here, this is second grade, so it looks. very
Okay, second
similar to
grade moved.
first.
So like I said, it's a duplication of the first grade. The only difference is it doesn't have the big book easel because the storybook phase is over, but all the other components are the same. The next one is third grade, same thing as second, no change. As I said, the chairs get a little bit bigger as the age gets higher. Fourth grade is the same as well. And the next is the fifth, the last classroom setup. Okay. The next one is one of the specialty rooms, the art room. You have more built-in storage because of the nature of the curriculum, vertical storage, flat files, open shelves, 2 sinks. The art tables are sturdy art tables. I spoke to a couple of art teachers and this was the preferred style. Some industrial open shelving for wet projects that have to dry, and the drying rack, the flat files, and then the teacher furniture. The next is the kindergarten. These are in alphabetical order, so this would have been before the first grade. But so again, the same classroom for set up for the built-in cabinetry and millwork. Teacher furniture, student furniture is the same. And as I mentioned, they get the big book easel.
I'm sorry, Patty.
Yep.
Quick question. For the student storage, is that the rolling cubby unit, or is that part of the built-in millwork?
So in the kindergarten and first grade, the student lockers are inside the classroom. So for the little ones, their coats and books and boots, they all have their own individual, and that's shown where Mike's pointing out now. Then the cubby units are for students. Each student has their own cubby within the classroom for their schoolwork. And then the bookcases are for the teachers. What I noticed when we walked through every single classroom at Jefferson was the abundance of open shelving, cubby storage for bins, whether it be books, manipulatives, art supplies. They really wanted a flexible, open cubby system that could be moved anywhere in the room. So we're giving them a combination of bookshelves and deep cubby units.
Thanks.
So we talked about kindergarten. Here's another specialty room, music. The music has the sink and also an under-counter refrigerator, some built-in storage, and some open deep shelving for instruments. The teacher furniture is the same. They have a file cabinet because they have to store music and a little bit more paper. The student music chair is shown there, along with the music stands that come on a cart and the mobile whiteboard. And they also have some bookcases like the other classrooms. There is a small practice room adjacent to the music room where we just have enough for 4 to 6 chairs for the students to use for practice. Next is pre-K. Pre-K, this is just a 3D view because there's a lot of small furniture and playscapes in these rooms, but they have the classroom built in. The teacher has the desk and chair. And like I said, this is a 3D kind of a high level bird's eye view of the way it would typically be set up. Again, they have cots and unique things that are specific just for pre-K because they're the only ones that take the naps and need the cot set up. The next one is a resource or multi-purpose room. We have 4 on the second floor and 4 on the third floor, and they're by classroom wing. We spoke to all the special ed teachers and they preferred the semicircle horseshoe style table instead of a traditional student desk. So they all get those. They also needed the cubby storage, the bookcase storage, lockable storage cabinets for different activities and games that they play with the students for learning, and then the filing. We actually did a linear foot takeoff of how many files each teacher needs for each grade, and we put that into the program. Next is the science. Science is another specialty room. The teacher furniture is the same. The student furniture is the same, except we also have the STEAM tables that are part of the back of the classroom. We have 2 setups for STEAM. That also comes with some fun stools for the students to sit around doing the STEAM exercises, which is, just a more flexible seating arrangement. They have industrial shelving, and they also have some pegboards to hang projects on the wall. And these were all requests from the teachers. Cafetorium is the loose table and chairs, round, family style, and the tables do fold and nest, and the chairs do stack easily for custodial to be able to clean the floors. The next is a collaboration area. There's one on the 2nd floor and one on the 3rd floor. And basically it's just a little in-between breakout space off of the main corridor. And it could be used for multiple things when students are taken out of the classroom for special help or for after-school activities, parent-teacher conferences, school clubs, things like that. And it's some fun furniture with some dense foam stools and some tables and a writable wall. The next are some of the meeting rooms. We have a conference room on the 1st floor and a PPT conference room on the 3rd floor. They're both adjacent to the principal and assistant principal, and they seat 10 each for parent meetings and staff meetings. Faculty dining is near the cafeteria. And this room is for the staff to eat. They also have storage, lockable storage, double stacked lockers for the teachers to put their items in if they wish, and a full-size refrigerator and all the other standard, sink, microwave, and counter space. Gymnasium area, there's not furniture in the gym, but there is the PE office, which is adjacent to the gym. And there's a typical office setup with desk, chair, file, bookcase, and some guest chairs. There is an OTPT room where we're just supplying it with some typical OTPT, materials that are come in a package. And then the gymnasium storage, we just are lining one wall with deep industrial shelves. The Learning Commons and Makerspace. This is a lot to digest. There's a lot of things shown on this one sheet, but the library/Learning Commons is on the left side of the floor plan. And basically it includes the circulation desk, and along the perimeter is the built-in bookcases, which are shown in the elevation below on the bottom of the sheet. So it's fixed bookcases. And then on the opposite side of the plan, behind the circulation desk, is more built-in bookcases, but then there's also some benches in between the windows that look out into the cafeteria. So it's a fun place for the students to sit and read. We have the furniture is a little small, like I said, but it includes a circular lounge piece with some bookcases on the outside of it, labeled B12 there in the visual, has a table and some stools for the students to work on projects together. In the middle of the room are some curved mobile bookcases. The folding tables are the next grouping you see. Flip nesting tables that could be moved around, a couple of horseshoe tables for collaboration, some mobile folding screens to divide the spaces when necessary. And then on the right side of the plan is the makerspace, which has the built-in counters for water and art projects and all the things that they do. On that side, it has 2 horseshoes put together to make a circle, and then 4 of the STEAM tables with storage tubs built into them with the stools around them.
So in terms of the books, it doesn't look like there are that many shelves. How does this compare in terms of shelving to the current library?
Yeah, so we did a typical, I don't have the amount of books, but I did do a calculation for this. And when we met with, Mike, remind me of her name, who we got the program.
I don't recall actually.
I can't remember because, Sandra. So she had directed us to go over to Fox Run, which was a fairly recently completed library, and to kind of model it after that. So we did do that, but then we also brought to the table what we're seeing in Learning Commons as up to date, collaborative 21st century concepts. So the amount of books, there was no amount given to us to meet. They said just max it out. But the most important thing was not bookshelves. It was working spaces, flexible learning working spaces was more important than loading it with, aisle after aisle of books. So that's how we did it. We approached it this way and it seemed to be accepted.
I'd be curious sometime to know the difference. Actually, how many books you can have versus what we have now.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to answer me now, of course, but at some point I'd like to know that.
Yeah, sure. And I
could
probably
say-
have that in my records because we did do that analysis. I just don't know it off the top of my head.
From a storage standpoint, the current library has shelves along this wall and I believe along this wall.
Yep.
And if I recall correctly, there's actually a dividing wall here, and this is office space where we're showing the maker space occurring.
Right.
So, proportionally, I would say you're probably
Close.
close to half, or maybe even 5/8 to 3/4 of the books that they have currently.
Mhm.
But we can certainly get a more definitive count.
Thank you.
Is this also, I'm sorry, jump in, with the Learning Commons, because the movement is towards getting away from as many books. Where does the technology go in here? Is there technology in this area? Computer stations, Chromebook stations, those
Yep.
types of things?
Yep. It's everywhere because it's wireless. So the students have their Chromebooks, and we were, every surface you see is a working technology station. Every chair, every spot that you see with a chair is basically where a student could sit and work with a computer. So it's very flexible.
And there are provisions for, in these different tables for power within those things for kids?
You don't need it. Not with the Chromebooks. There's charging station carts in every single classroom, and then they would use this as a wireless environment. No fixed desktop stations were required.
These icons here and here are representative of the interactive displays that are being outfitted. These are actually part of the building project, but they're shown here for coordination with the furniture as well, and that would support the technology.
I'm curious to jump back a little bit. Also, you showed a science lab, and my understanding, our elementary schools don't have a science curriculum right now. So, unless that is changing, why is there a science lab in this particular building, and why is it not just the makerspace that is being utilized for that?
Well, there was an existing science lab in Jefferson. And then there's also a STEAM teacher too. And what they do for the lower grades, the teacher has materials that's brought into the classroom from a locked closet in the hallway, and they bring it in and do science in the room. I believe it was 3rd through 5th was coming to the science classroom. And then the STEAM teacher was sharing the space with the science teacher. So there were actually 2 science teachers as part of Jefferson. So we included it. It was in the ed specs too. So
it's replacing an existing facility. And I think maybe science is a bit of a misnomer. I think it's the teacher is very broad in terms of the approach to learning, and uses kits as Patty mentioned, but I think I'm probably doing a disservice to the description, but I think it's actually much more akin to the maker space that we see elsewhere, as well as maybe a bit of art. And we're not talking about
test tubes or anything like that.
Chemistry experiments or things like that.
Yeah, there's no science lab tables. They just have the typical student classroom table in the science room. So the curriculum is not like Mike said, like a high school science program. Doesn't need epoxy lab tables.
Hey, Patty, when you look at the number of books and stuff, just keep in mind that the number you have may be maybe when you first entered the school, like 6 months ago, whatever it is. So when Jefferson moved to Ponus recently, I don't know whether they reduced the volume, took advantage of that period of moving from one location to another and modify the volume. So you may want to check what they have in Ponus right now.
I've missed the beginning of your sentence though. When I'm doing
yeah.
what?
What happens when Jefferson moved to Ponus right now?
Yeah.
During the move, they might clean out their inventory somewhat. So you may want to check at Ponus to see what the current volume is in terms of number of books.
Oh, okay.
I think that's the only way we're going to be able to do it, Alan, because I would be surprised if they had records of what they had previously. But
okay, very good. I thought you might have inventory before that. That's why. Okay.
Oh no, yeah, we didn't do that.
Okay.
The majority of the books are in storage right now.
Mm-hmm. And so that's all there is on this slide. The next one is some of the offices in the main office and then the private offices. So the upper right corner is the main office coming in off the vestibule. That is hatched in because it's not freestanding furniture. It's built-in millwork counters that are permanent. And then we'd have, the chairs that accompany them. The principal's office is shown there on the upper left corner, with the desk, return, credenza, wardrobe, open and closed shelving, and some guest chairs. And same for the assistant principal upstairs. The assistant principal's is a little bit smaller than the principal's just by the nature of the size of the room, but functions similar. And the nurse's suite has the typical things you see in a nurse suite. It has the toilet room. It has the built-in cabinetry with a refrigerator and a narcotics cabinet, and then the nurse's desk and chair, files, step-on lid, waste receptacles, the cots, scale, a little table they asked for a table sheet. I guess they color and do activities while they're waiting for their parents to come get them, or if they're not feeling good, and then some guest chairs. And the next one is a typical office for either a counselor or a speech therapist. And basically it's got a desk and a return and a task chair for the instructor with some filing and bookcases, and then a little grouping of table and stools for the students to work around. And
I think that's it, actually.
That's it. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or want to revisit a sheet? It's a lot to look at very quickly. So
no, thank you for that. If there are no questions, I'll go right to a vote. All right. All in favor? Okay. Nick? That's a hand coming up there someplace.
Oh, yay.
The creature from the Black Lagoon. Okay, unanimous. Thank you. And thank you guys for the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you.
Have a good night. All right, so let's go to item, let's see, the item 3, review fee proposals for conceptual feasibility site evaluation of the development concept for the new Columbus Norwalk School, and refer the recommendation to the Common Council for action. A, authorize a purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to JCJ Architects to provide conceptual design services and professional cost estimates for the Columbus School South Norwalk School project for a total not to exceed $28,000, account noted. B, authorized to establish a contingency for additional services as may be required for a total not to exceed $2,800. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Nick. We've talked about this a bit. Does anyone want any other questions about it? David?
Yeah, I'm just curious. This is a capital account this is coming out of, right?
Yes.
And which school account is it coming
I
against?
put it on Columbus.
It's coming against Columbus? Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Yeah, Barbara.
Yeah, I just want to be clear here that, what we're doing, this is a step in the process so that the application can be made. correct?
It's part of the process for the city to determine if we do a two school and a combined campus, whether certain size, how big the property needs to be. And also we have made some evaluation regarding how many students we can accommodate for the combined two schools. And based on that, we got square footage. So we want the architect to look at placement of the two schools, parking area, bus drop off, and open space to see how much area we need and how it fits on the property. Because we don't want to start approaching a property owner or any property owner until we know we can potentially fit on that site. So this is really background work. We don't want to misrepresent that, oh yeah, we can try to get this property, next thing you know, it doesn't work for us. So this is the kind of in-house background work that we need to do. It doesn't tie to the architects for the future. This is just one simple evaluation, and that it's not a commitment to future work with this architect by any means. It's just we grab one of our architect consultants. We got three quotes, and it's just a one-shot thing.
And then one other question: it doesn't lock us into two schools in one. So, for example, say this moves forward, and we find a property, but we discover that it's not quite big enough for two schools, and we end up with one school. I mean, is this a possibility that we continue with more like the original plan, where the one school is Columbus has moved to this new location, and then the current Columbus is repurposed?
I don't think, based on this scenario, it would not work for us. So again, this is really a study. It's a planning study. It's a conceptual idea kind of thing. We're testing it against one scenario, is that put two schools in one property. But if it doesn't work, we go back. The problem is that the Columbus school budgets does not allow us to go acquire property. So we couldn't just, let's say we bought a piece of property. Originally, we think I put two schools in it, and it turned out that we only put in one school in it. We don't have money to buy the property, only put one school in it, because we still got to use the other money to renovate the existing Columbus. So by doing it combined, we have a little savings in combining the school that we can use for property acquisition. But you break it back out to two separate schools. We don't have enough money to acquire property to build a new Columbus school. At the same time, we renovate as new as the existing Columbus school. So after we do this analysis, and if what we're still waiting for is the board to come to us and say, we gave them generously based on our budgets. We can afford about 750 students, but they haven't come to us about what type of school it is. We think what the proposal is two separate schools, and one is Bank Street program, the other one is South North neighborhood school. But within that parameter, I mean, is it 2-session, 3-session, pre-K to 8, pre-K to 5? We still don't have that information, so it's still vague, and we're waiting for Board of Ed to make those recommendations, and they got to look at district enrollment to look at that how that works and doesn't work. So there's still a lot of work that Board of Ed needs to do before we do anything. But we want to be prepared to look at the spatial needs and stuff based on 750 kids. So it's really complex, a little bit of catch-22, what goes first. But at the same time, we don't want to be behind in terms of trying to figure things out. We want to look at all the options available, and this is the option available to us. So we want to get a little more into the detail of how it works and doesn't work.
Thanks, Alan.
Two quick questions then. One is, without land acquisition, there's no application can be made to the state at all on this, correct?
Correct. The state has stayed very clear to us that we have to control the property.
Control the property, correct? Yeah. The next question I have is then, are there ed specs for this conceptual school that we're spending $28,000 to conceptually design?
No.
Okay.
That's one of the requirements that we are putting forth the Board of Ed to provide to us. But at the same time, we know that there's a state, Jim had me out here, there's state requirement in terms of you have 750 kids and you actually identify as K to 8, K to 5, whatever it is, and then you put into the formula, it gives you a square footage for the building. With that square footage, we can figure out what the projected cost is by square footage. It's a very rough number. Okay, I mean, it's like, you got 70,000 square foot of blah. That means that how much money is per square foot. You multiply out, you figure land cost, you figure soft costs and stuff like that. And so based on the amount of budget we have, which is roughly around $64 million, $65 million, something like that, we could afford a school that's about 750 kids. But it doesn't say what grade, and it doesn't get into that level of detail yet. But at the same time, we just want to kind of assess a property to see what it means to us, whether what we can and cannot do. Because I don't want to keep talking about something that potentially doesn't work. So I want to, I guess, it's too signy to kind of move closer on both ends, for education programming side and the budget and spatial requirement side. So we kind of narrow it down. So we need to do both at the same time. It's not that we do one and then wait for the other one, then it just takes too long. And also you have to step backward too far, But this way we can kind of continue to move closer and closer together to something that's realistic.
Okay, thanks, Alan. That was a good answer. I appreciate that.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. All right, the next item is, I'm not going to read them all. I'm going to read one, and then so that we can all have in front of us in the minutes to reflect all of them. But it's approve the latest plan for removal of underground heating and oil tanks at various schools. No council approval is required. I'm going to read the first item in full and then just substitute in the names and the other items, and they can be, as is in the minutes, should reflect the full list. So A, authorize the chairman of the City of Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee to certify the City of Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee's approval of final plans, project manual, and cost estimate for the Wolf Pit Elementary School oil tank replacement project. Test 0254 CB/OT. Item B is the Silvermine Elementary School oil tank replacement project, State Project 103-025-502. Item C, Roten Middle School oil tank replacement project, State Project 103-0256 CB/OT. D, the Rowayton Elementary School oil tank replacement project, State Project 103-0257 CB/OT. Item E, Box Run Elementary School oil tank replacement project, State Project 103-0258 CB/OT. And F, Nathan Hill Middle School oil tank removal project, State Project 103-0259 CB/OT. G, Kendall Elementary School oil tank removal project, State Project 103-0260 CB/OT. And H, Naramake Elementary School oil tank replacement project, State Project 103-0261 CB/OT. There a motion for this? Thank you, David. Bill, will fill us in?
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, committee members. What you have here in front of you is a step in the process to receive state reimbursement for this project. So while we had hoped that we could have done all 8 tanks under one filing, state doesn't receive it as such, and they made us do a separate filing for each school. That's why there's so much data here. To give you an idea of what we are talking about and why we are doing it, I'm going to ask Mike Fianza to put up on the screen the plans, and we'll go through that to show you what we are talking about here, the plans of where the new tanks will be going. Keep in mind, there are 8 tanks coming out of the ground.
Hey, Bill, before you go on, last, I don't know, some months ago, the council approved these items, I think. So what's the difference between what the council did and what we're doing here?
In order for us to follow the state filing process, they need this committee to approve the specifications and plans. What happens after this, we take these plans, we send them out to bid, and next month I'll be in front of you again to approve the final contractor for this project.
So Tom, it's the same approval process that you just did for the furniture at
Yeah, so that, I just want to make sure, so the council
No.
basically approved the old, and then it gets
No,
delegated to the committee.
Tom, what the council approved is last time with all these projects, it's approval to apply to the state for funding.
Right.
So that's the last time the council saw it. This
Okay.
time is approving the construction bid documents.
Okay, thank you.
So there are 8 schools that require them to be removed from the ground, 2 of which will be removed and soil would go back in place because those boilers are currently using a different energy source. And 6 of the 8 will have new oil storage tanks, only they will be above ground. So Mike, if you can go to the next slide, which I think should be Wolf Pit. If you can expand on that.
Hold on, I've lost control, the panel with the control. These aren't in order either, so let me just, you want to go to the Wolf Pit?
Well, whichever one is first.
The demolition plans are first, so just give me a moment to get set up, Bill.
Okay. So basically what Mike is going to show us is a plan of where the existing tank is and where the new tank is going. For the most part, the new tanks are going in the general vicinity and they're going to be fenced in. Again, they're above ground. And some of the schools, mainly Rowayton, it will go across the parking lot because in front of the school, there is no area where an above ground tank would go. So this just gives you a graphic of the plans that we are sending to the state for their approval, together with the specifications for each one of these projects. So
what is the reimbursement rate?
Mike, on this one, is it 22%, Mike?
No,
Hold
it's,
on, I have,
it's your 32%.
It's still, so it's a full reimbursement rate.
Right.
you want me to go to the next one, Bill?
Yeah, just give me the name of the school because it's a little hard to read. I'm on a small screen here.
Yeah, this is, hold on, let me try and blow this up.
I was going to say, I mean,
Yes.
unless there's something unique about it, or are there any specific questions by members of the committee? It's hard for me to look at this and make sense of it. So I don't know how others feel.
Yeah. Understood. I figured I'd show you a graphic, but it is a little small. So the general concept is plans and specifications, which is the next step. And this shows you what the contractors will be bidding.
So this is Wolf Pit,
This
Yes.
is Wolf Pit.
and so the
Back
tank's going
there.
basically in the same place where you're pulling it out, covering the hole and putting the above ground tank. That's what it looks like. Am I correct?
That is correct. Yes,
Thank you.
off to the left as you approach the property.
Yep.
And so why don't you quickly go through each school? I'm sorry.
So this one here,
This
Mike,
is Silver Mine.
Silvermine is going in the back of the school. You'll never even see it. And again, it's going in the same place near the trash compactor containers.
This is Roten.
Roten, again, is going in the back in its current location where the underground storage tank is.
This is Rowayton.
So Rowayton, you might see that dotted line in the middle center. That's the fuel lines, which go from the vicinity of the boiler room to the new above ground tank, which is going to be where we currently store the dumpsters, and that will be fenced in.
The old tank is basically where my cursor is right now on the lawn.
In the front lawn. We didn't think by putting an above ground tank in that location was the best choice.
Don't want to interrupt, but just double check when you guys have a chance, double check the setback line for the property line.
We already have a plan.
Okay.
The next one is Fox Run.
Fox Run again would go in the general vicinity. It's probably going to be 20 or 25 feet away, just to clear the small parking area there.
The next, and the last one for the new tanks is Narragansett.
And this would go in the current location where the underground tank currently is.
And the two, just for everyone's clarification, because you're approving 8 projects, the last 2 for Nathan Hale and Kendall are remove only, because those 2 buildings are served by natural gas. And
So the reason for this project is all of these 8 tanks have reached their maximum life expectancy, 30 years, and federal law requires that they be replaced.
Do we know if there's any leakage from any of these?
We don't have any indication of any leakage. Obviously, the soil will be tested as part of this project in the same way that Jefferson was, and we have money anticipated if there is any contaminated soil.
And I just want to add and note that the tank at Cranberry will be removed as part of the Cranberry project.
That's correct. That's not part of this scope.
Not part of these 8.
And what's the estimated cost for all this again?
I think the council has approved 1.5 million.
Okay.
And does that 1.5 also include screening of these tanks, security of the tanks, all of those additional factors now that they're above ground?
Yes, it does. One complete project.
Any other questions or discussion?
No.
Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Nick, I can't see you, but okay, unanimous. Thank you. All right, thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Let's move
Tom,
on. Sure.
one quick thing to add to these projects and the approval that you guys passed for Jefferson as well. There are a series of forms, and
I
unfortunately,
know, I gotta sign them. I know.
yeah. So if we can make arrangements to do that, that would be great.
Yeah, just let me know and I'll come in and sign it.
Okay,
Thank you.
All right.
thank you.
Okay, item 5, review proposals for design services for Silvermine School Parking Lot Improvement Project, and refer the following to the Common Council for action. A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with M&J Engineering PC for the Silvermine Elementary School Driveway Improvements Design Project for a total not to exceed $50,000, account noted. B, authorize the MPS Facilities Department to issue change orders on this contract for a total not to exceed $5,000. Do I have a motion? Well, thank you, Barbara. Bill, back to you.
So what this refers to is the much talked about approach and parking and comings and goings, if you will, to the Silvermine property. So we received approval from Common Council for $80,000 to go out for a design project. Bids came back, we reviewed them all, and we've selected M&J Engineering based on their project approach and also their professionalism that they bring to this. They have many projects they've done in the general lower Fairfield County area, most notably the Stamford Urban Transit Way around the Stamford train station. They developed all of that work, the comings and goings of that parking lot and the approach to the train station. So we feel that it's based on their project approach and their experience and their costs, they are best served to do this project, and we'd like to move forward with it.
And what's the timing on their engineering study as well as the project itself, the paving?
Well, the idea is between now and next summer, we come up with a design and we place it out to bid. And next summer, we initiate the work because the council has approved money in their last session to do so. So do the planning now, do the actual work a year from now.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Just remind me, we approved the money for this design study in the last capital, correct?
That is correct, $80,000.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, seeing none. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all the items on the agenda. Alan, is there anything else you want to raise? No.
No.
Okay, the one thing I'll just throw out is that I had lunch with Diana Carpio on Monday, furthering this discussions in terms of improving communications between our committee and the Board of Education Facilities Committee, with one of the goals being to have a joint meeting. So expect to get a notice about that sometime in the next couple of weeks. We're trying to fit into people's schedules. If we don't find a time to have a separate meeting, joint meeting, we'll probably do it before the next land use meeting in June. But we'll keep you posted.
That sounds great.
Okay, and with that, have a motion from anybody?
So moved.
All in favor?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned. All right, thanks, guys. Thank you very much
Good
as
night.
always.